Back in January, I made a goal to spend $0 on any delivery or takeout food this year. So that means no delivery apps, no Uber Eats, nothing like that from January 1st to December 31st. Now, to some people, I know that might not sound like a big deal, and to other people, it might sound completely crazy and ambitious, but hear me out for a second. Also, by the way, please excuse my voice in this video. I'm a little sick right now and coughing and stuff, so just ignore that. So Dennis and I both track all of our spending throughout the year, and last year, at the end of 2023, we tallied everything up to see both how much money we spend like on a monthly average, but also how much we spend in total for each of our different budget categories. Now, when we did this, it was very eye-opening for me because I learned that I ended up spending just over $4,700 on eating out, and of that amount, a grand total of $2,229 was just from delivery food. So pretty much half of my eating out came from ordering into our house. To me, that amount felt way too high, and it was also an interesting thing to share online because we definitely got a lot of comments from people saying that when they first heard that number, they were thinking that spending over $2,000 on Uber Eats was just crazy and ridiculous. But then they decided to tally up how much they spent on takeout last year, and it ended up being even more than that. And I feel like that goes to show that it's just so easy to spend more money than you want to on eating out in general, and then on delivery food and takeout specifically. It's just so convenient with the apps now, I feel like. Like, it's so easy to just go to it, you make excuses for yourself, whatever it might be. I do think the key thing I said there, though, is spending more money than you want to, because it's okay to spend money on food in general and also on takeout and eating out if you want to, but it has to fit into your budget, and you have to also be able to still hit your saving goals. For me, I was still able to hit my saving and investing goals even with spending this ridiculous amount. I'm pretty sure I've saved/invested over $30,000 last year, but even with that, I wasn't happy with spending what felt like so much money, specifically on the takeout piece. And I also really want to be able to spend more time eating food at home, not only because it's healthier, but also because I really want to grow my skills for cooking meals and actually creating recipes. So it's kind of like a double-sided goal in that sense. So with all of that being said, I decided that it would be fun to challenge myself to see if I can go from spending that $2,229 on delivery food last year to spending $0 on delivery food this year. But I did come up with some ground rules. I feel like with a challenge like this, you gotta have some rules and parameters in place. The main one for me is that I'm still allowing myself to go out and eat at restaurants in person. I do have a maximum budget of $150 a month set aside for this, and my goal is that I want to spend this money on actually going out to eat in person with friends, and also to try like new and fun restaurants with Dennis that we haven't been to before. We live in downtown Toronto, and I really want to take advantage of that this time in my life, make sure we're going to these fun places, eating at these cool restaurants that are really delicious and that are close by and available to us. But at the same time, last year, even though I spent more money on food, what would happen is I would spend money ordering food, and then I wouldn't want to go out to eat because I've already spent so much money on food, but I never got to go to the actual good in-person places. So that's the goal for 2024. The second rule on top of that is that I'm still allowed to call a restaurant directly and then go to the restaurant and pick up the food and eat it at home if I want to. The main reason I'm allowing this is because I'm really just wanting to stop myself from being lazy and then also spending so much on these fees and the marked up prices from the apps. But if I really do feel the motivation to call the restaurant directly, walk all the way there to pick it up, then I'm allowing myself to do that too. I just don't want to do it too often. So those are the two rules and like parameters in place for myself, and that's what I wanted to hit and stick to as of the beginning of the year. So now I'm going to go through and recap how this actually went for me in January, February, March, and now April as well. Okay, so January was actually an amazing start to the year and this challenge, which was really nice to start off with. I only spent $44.74 on restaurants, which is obviously way under budget. And then I also spent $18.67 on coffee shops. For that specifically, I have a separate $50 budget, which I feel like I should include that here too, because it's still in the food category. So way under budget there. And then on groceries, I spent a total of $373.42. Now that is over budget. At the beginning of the year, my goal was to spend $300 a month max on groceries, mostly because that was about what we spent every month last year. Our average, I think, was in like the high 200s. So I thought $300 would actually for sure cover things. Although I guess I wasn't too surprised to see it be higher than that for two reasons. Obviously, we were eating out less, as shown by those low numbers, but also I was buying ingredients specifically for these new recipes I was starting to make at home as well. So I wasn't too shocked at the time to see it go up a little bit. I actually filmed a clip at the beginning of February, I think February 1st, recapping how January went when it was still fresh. So let's jump to that right now. Okay guys, it's February 1st right now, which means that I successfully spent $0 on takeout for 1 full month so far, which is really exciting. I think it was probably easier to do this for the first month of the year for a few reasons. On one hand, it's still like a fresh new goal that I'm really excited about, so I feel like that makes it easier right away. And let's be honest, I have you guys keeping me accountable. I'm excited to do these update videos, which definitely helps me as well. But on the other side, it's the winter right now. It's been a warmer winter than usual, but it's still not very nice out. It's gloomy. And I think if I look back on past years, I probably order out even more in the winter months. So I'd say that it's a success that I specifically did it in January so far. So this month, our reward dinner date that we're gonna do is gonna be at this new Toronto restaurant called the Joneses. It's themed after like the concept of keeping up with the Joneses, which I thought was really fun. It's like a cute mid-century modern place. Also, it's kind of money themed now that I'm thinking about it, right? The keeping up with the Joneses. So I thought that that would be fun. We're gonna go there in a few hours. And yeah, I'm just pretty excited about it. I think it's nice because this is the type of thing that I'd want to go to a restaurant like this, but by the end of the month, it wouldn't make sense to. I would have already spent so much on ordering out or eating out randomly and unintentionally. So it's nice to hit up this spot first. Also, I wanted to update you that I did cook 4 new recipes this month. 1 per week is my goal, so hopefully I'll hit that kind of side goal that goes along with that. This month I made a sweet potato kale soup, I made chicken lo mein, I did roasted vegetables, I did this like bone-in chicken thigh recipe that was really good too. Hopefully it was really good. Dennis will let you know at some point if he's been liking it. But so far, so good. I'm excited to keep it up next month, so stay tuned for that next update and fingers crossed it keeps going well. So you can clearly see that I was feeling great about the challenge at that time. And I also mentioned those different recipes that I was making. It's funny actually for me because I think I've been more proud of myself for making these like yummy, healthy, delicious meals at home. I keep saying yummy and delicious, but I really am proud of myself for making food that's good for us, but also tastes good. I feel like that's something I didn't know that I could do on a consistent basis. And it's been kind of a nice surprise that I'm even more proud of that than I am about the saving money piece. So anyway, that's how I was feeling for January. As I mentioned in that clip, we were about to head out to go to that expensive restaurant, which we did. A keyword, I said it was expensive. So let's get into how February went. So in February, I spent $188.48 on restaurants, which you might be able to tell right away that that's over my $150 budget. But that was also all spent on that one dinner out at the Joneses. Now, I obviously did know in advance that it was gonna be an expensive spot, but I think I slightly miscalculated. You know when you like look up the menu at a place and you're kind of adding up all the prices of the things that you might get? I was doing that and I was pretty sure that we were gonna spend about $150 on the dot. Somehow I got that wrong, but the problem really isn't the amount. Well, it is, but more than the amount, it's that the food wasn't like good enough to justify that price in our opinion. We got some appetizers and drinks, those were good, and then just 2 mains on top of that, and those were definitely mediocre for us. So it just, for $188, you know, you wanna love the food, and I feel like that didn't really happen for us. Now I am happy that I didn't spend any more money throughout the month on eating out. I didn't like the feeling at all of feeling restricted. Like I spent my entire eating out budget and then some, more than that, on the very first day. So it made me not be able to do anything else all month long. But in hindsight, I am still happy that I did that and didn't blow my budget even more. I feel like in the past, I might have taken the mentality of, oh, like blew the budget, I'll try again next month and just keep spending beyond that. But I'm very happy and proud that I didn't do that. This experience did make me change my mind a little bit about this challenge though, from the perspective of, at first I was thinking if every month that I don't order any Uber Eats or spend any money on delivery, then Dennis and I would go out on these like reward dinners. So we would pick a spot and we'd go on like the first of the next month. But I feel like being that regimented with it did this to me, right? It made my budget then restricted for the rest of the month. And I feel like that wasn't going to be sustainable all year long. So instead I wanted to become more flexible with it, see how plans go throughout the month. We can still pick a place to go, but it doesn't have to be on the first of the month and predetermined like that. So I don't have anything left for the rest of the month. So I'll talk about a little bit more about how that actually went for me for the next 2 months in a second. So like I said, in February, I spent $188.48 on restaurants. I actually spent $0 on coffee shops. I was definitely trying to make up for that overspending in the restaurants category. And then I spent just over $413 on groceries. Now this was definitely even higher than the last month, obviously, and than expected. I definitely think this is mostly attributed to buying more of those ingredients for cooking at home more. For the most part, I've just been using Instagram Instagram or TikTok to look up different recipes to make. My favorite page is called Royally Eats, like Royal Eats, but with another E in the middle. So I always say Royally Eats. I really like the way he seasons his food. So basically every week I'll just look up recipes either from him or someone else. I'll save the ones that I like, and then I'll make my grocery list from the ingredient list. And then that way when I'm actually making the recipes at home, I can just follow along with the videos. I find that really helpful. In February, I made a few new recipes. I did one pot chicken and rice. That was delicious. I've made it again since then. I did orange chicken and broccoli. That was also really fun. And then the other one was jalapeno chicken, which was delicious as well. So the cooking is going really great, especially up until that point it was. And the grocery cost was the only part that's like not so great about it, but I do know that there's ways for us to bring that down, so that was my goal moving forward into the next month. Okay, so now on to March. In March, I spent $147.80 on restaurants, which is under my $150 budget, so that's pretty exciting. And we went out to eat a few different times. We got Maker Pizza, which is one of our favorite pizza spots in the city. Dennis and I also went and tried this new restaurant. Well, it's at least new-ish and new to us. It's called Burger Drops. It's basically like a smash burger place that's pretty popular right now, which was really delicious. Obviously a lot less than $188 too, which was great. And we also happened to go on like a random day when we were just feeling it and went in the moment. So the whole not planning it out and being flexible thing worked out pretty well. And then I also went and got brunch one day with a friend. So this was great. I stuck to my budget. I got to have multiple different outings. I got to be flexible, see friends, go on a dinner date with Dennis. All of that kind of fit in one go. I did unfortunately go over my coffee budget in March. I spent a total of $72.93. Now that's definitely over budget. I think it's mostly because I went kind of all out a few times. Coffee shop budgets for me aren't about like daily coffee. It's normally to get multiple things. This time, I think at least one time, I went to this specialty bakery. I got 4 different croissants. I got a loaf of bread. I got a vanilla latte. So obviously that was pretty expensive and definitely added up. Then on groceries, I spent $384.39 in March. Still over budget, but I still hadn't done a Costco trip yet. That was our plan, was to do that sometime in March or April, mostly to stock up on things like meat. That's a big part of our like weekly grocery cost. And then also some toiletries and cleaning supplies. I often end up lumping that in with my grocery spending because we get stuff like that at the grocery store. So being able to have that stocked up for at least a few months should be able to bring the cost down in the future. Recipe-wise, I made a few new recipes, notably shawarma bowls and also chipotle bowls. Both of these were 10 out of 10s. They were delicious. We loved them. We've made them multiple times since. So that was really exciting. Also, I feel like in March, I officially hit my stride of not just treating recipes as like a rule book that I had to follow perfectly. Instead, I'm able to actually kind of add in my own takes on like how much seasoning to use, stuff like that. Use it more as an inspiration instead of a guide. So that's been good. I'm really getting into the hang of things. And overall, I feel like March was my first really balanced month. I did know that moving into April, though, I wanted to make sure I was sticking to that coffee budget and find ways to finally bring that grocery cost down as well. Now that officially brings us to April, which just wrapped up last week. Now in April, I spent $146.07 on restaurants, which was a big win for being under budget again for the second month in a row. Really exciting. But I feel like April in general was kind of a really random month food-wise and eating out specifically. Dennis and I were pretty busy with work all month long. We were just kind of like heads down. I feel like the month really flew by, to be honest. We also had 2 different work trips that happened, so that kind of threw us off our usual routine. So the different restaurants that I ended up eating at this month was literally Tim Hortons twice, Nando's once, which we actually ordered ahead, went there and picked it up, ate it at home, and then Maker Pizza again as well. So nothing really exciting. I didn't eat out with friends. Actually, I did once, but I didn't pay for it. So that was actually fun. So I did get to do that one time. But for the most part, I wasn't spending my money on eating with friends or going anywhere new. It was mostly just like, it's just randomness basically. But I am still happy that even with a kind of random month, it can still be easy to go over budget, but I was still under budget. Coffee shop wise, I spent pretty much exactly $50, which was great because that means it's on budget. And then for groceries, I spent $383.70. But I am happy to say that this month that actually included a trip to Costco that we finally made. For us, it's kind of funny because we live downtown Toronto and we don't have a car because for the most part, we can walk or take public transit anywhere we want to go. But Costco, it's hard to get to without driving, but also bringing all the stuff back, obviously. So what we typically do is if we ever rent a car or have a chance to borrow a car, then we'll make a trip. We rented a car for one of those work trips this month, so we also just tacked on a Costco trip to the side. And I think I'm going to be able to see the savings in next month. Obviously, this month it made it expensive because we were stocking up on stuff. Funny enough, it was still in line with those other months, which is interesting. But either way, next month we won't have to buy any meat, any cleaning supplies, stuff like that for at least that month. My new recipe for the month this month was unstuffed bell peppers. That was actually also a really good one. And it was my first time not making chicken as like the main protein. So I'm expanding, getting better at the recipes at home. And yeah, that's been going really well. And that's it for April. I think other than that, I just remade a few of those other recipes I've already mentioned, like the shawarma bowls, for example. But yeah, that was it. That means that officially I've made it 4 months of the year so far, January, February, March, and April, without ordering any delivery food, any Uber Eats. I've spent $0 on that category, which is a big success. On top of that, I also did the math, crunched the numbers, whatever you want to call it, and I figured out that I've only been spending an average of $560 a month on food. I say only because that's $200 less than I spent on average per month last year. So not only did I spend $0 on any delivery food, I'm also saving money every single month on food overall, which is another big win. And I'd say the biggest win on top of both of those is actually what I've gained from actually cooking at home more and building my skills and confidence in that area. So I guess overall, I'm just really happy with how this challenge is going so far, and I'm excited to keep it going throughout the rest of the year. I really hope that you guys liked this update and chatty breakdown of how I've done so far with this challenge. I'm gonna do another update a few months from now, so we'll see how I continue on, especially with the summer months. I think that that'll be interesting. So stay tuned for further updates. And I wanna hear from you guys if you're doing any challenges like this. I know on Instagram, some people have told me that they're following along and doing $0 Uber Eats as well. But if you're doing any sort of like spending goals for this year, or you wanna share how much you've spent on food, I love hearing all that stuff. So let us know in the comments below, and we'll be back next week with another video.